This draft season, I'm kicking off the ranking festivities early, as I'm going to go over the top players at each position before the season even starts. I'm going to start with the quarterbacks per usual, and this class is not nearly as strong as last year's quarterback class. If you're new, subscribe to the channel as I will be doing draft content all year long. But for now, I'm Chase Keller, and welcome to the preseason top 10 quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL Draft. Enjoy. Before we get into the video, just a disclaimer that these are not my personal rankings. Instead, these are the consensus rankings according to Mock Draft Database. With that information out of the way, let's dive into this list, beginning with Arizona quarterback Noah Fifita at number 10. A former 3-star recruit, he put himself and all of Arizona on the map last season, giving them their highest postseason ranking since 1997. As a redshirt freshman, he took over for quarterback Jayden de Laura in the middle of the season and threw for nearly 3,000 passing yards with a touchdown to interception ratio of 25-6. Fifita has dominated so far on the college football stage, but how much is he going to translate over to the NFL stage? There are concerns with that. This is because of his measurables, where he currently measures in at 5'10", 195 pounds. Both of those measurements are in the first percentile of NFL quarterbacks. Even former first overall pick Bryce Young was at 5'10" going into the draft, but he bulked up significantly before entering the NFL. Despite the size concerns, there's no doubting his ability to throw the rock, and that begins with his mechanics. Fifita is able to control his velocity very well. He's able to adjust to throw at different angles. He's got the resume for mechanics. Add that with his IQ, mobility, and already proven leadership, and you have yourself an intriguing quarterback prospect. On the flip side of things, I've already discussed his size, but along with that, he has yet to prove that he has NFL-worthy processing abilities. He will often miss reads and his anticipation is just average at best, and when you combine that with his size, teams might turn away. Now, Fifita is a guy I haven't looked too deep into yet, but I am excited to look into him just like I was excited to look into a different undersized prospect. Talking about Bryce Young. As a result, he ranks 10th on this preseason quarterbacks list. Moving into the 9th spot, we have a guy who has been in the spotlight ever since high school, and that is Ole Miss signal caller Jackson Dart. He played in relief of Kedon Slovis at USC during his freshman year, and he was the projected starting quarterback at USC going into 2022. That was before Caleb Williams and company arrived. So he transferred to Ole Miss, where he has put together some very solid numbers in his 2 starting seasons, about to go on a 3rd. At this point, he's put together career numbers of 7,681 passing yards and 52 touchdowns, which makes sense given his ability as a passer. He's got the accuracy, the mechanics, the processing, the velocity. While he doesn't have a special trait, having all of these traits is really good. And along with that, he has upside as a runner in the NFL, as in 2023, he added 400 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. While Dart has some very good arm talent, the mental traits could use some work, and that begins with the pocket presence. He's gotta figure out when exactly the pressure is collapsing and when he has to get rid of the ball. Along with that, he struggles to lead on receivers and hit them in stride, and he isn't too present in the deep game. Dart absolutely has the potential to be a high NFL draft pick. He showed that development going into 2023, now he's got to show it again going into 2024. He's number 9 on this list. Now we get to some of the guys that I have watched all 22 film on, and that begins at number 8 with Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard. As a transfer from Duke, he looks to recover from multiple injuries suffered in the 2023 season and tap back into that potential he showed in 2022. He sprained his ankle against Notre Dame, interestingly enough, and then suffered a toe injury that officially shut him down for the rest of the season. But when I decided to watch his film early, I was shocked by what I saw. Specifically, I was shocked by his pocket presence. That pocket presence is among some of the best that I've ever watched in a quarterback prospect, and his ability to just move around in the pocket is just fantastic. And it translates to mobility in the open field as well. Tie that in with his processing ability, his diagnostics, and his anticipation, and you have a sneaky dual threat prospect. Negatively, he really has to work on his poise, as just like Jackson Dart, he lets that pocket get too collapsed. And when you're inaccurate while getting hit, just like Leonard is, you gotta stop letting that happen. On top of that, his arm talent is nothing special, as he doesn't have great accuracy or velocity all around. But Leonard has still shown enough upside to be a trusty backup, but that's so far. This season with Notre Dame is crucial, and that's why he ranks number 8 on this list. Then we go back to the guys who I haven't watched all 22 film on just yet, but I'll be watching Texas A&M quarterback Wigman after I watch a guy who comes up later on this list. Wigman has seen action throughout the first 2 years of career, and under new coaching, he looks to take that production to the next level. He's combined for over 1,800 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions in his career. Those 2 interceptions is actually where I want to begin, as Wigman is one of the most disciplined passers that I've heard of in this class. His arm talent turns that into some good production, as he combines good accuracy and velocity to deliver at many different angles. Those angle adjustments come out as a positive, but going into his junior year, he needs to be more mechanically sound. His footwork can be erratic and inconsistent overall, which does turn into some inconsistencies in his game. But the will-be 21-year-old prospect is someone to really look into, and this level of upside is hard to find at this point in the prospect scouting timeline. Because of that, Wigman slots in as the number 7 quarterback on the consensus rankings. Moving on to one of my favorite quarterback prospects going into this season, as Miami quarterback Cameron Ward is 6th on this list. He's coming into Miami from Washington State and previously Incarnate Ward, and he's significantly contributed every season he's played. He has career numbers of just under 14,000 passing yards, 119 passing touchdowns, and 30 interceptions, along with 16 rushing touchdowns. He is one of my favorite prospects because I've been following him throughout his whole collegiate career, and I'm sure like some of you guys as well, I found this guy through TikTok. I think his TikTok is deleted now, so whatever. But I also really like him because of his ability to make moves on the move. His pocket presence is fantastic. He's able to make great throws on the run. He always improvises once he escapes the pocket. Add that to his general accuracy and arm velocity, and you have a quarterback prospect worth taking. On the downside though, he has not developed those processing abilities that you would hope a 4-year starting quarterback would have developed by now. Along with that, while his pocket presence is fantastic, he does need to notice the pressure after he leaves the pocket. He often gets sacked or tackled from behind as a result. Or, take off running instead of just improvising in the air. He has the athleticism to make those plays. Ward has a huge prove-it year as he goes into his final collegiate season with the Miami Hurricanes. For now, he ranks 6th on this consensus list. As we enter the top 5 of this list, we have a ranking where scouts are absolutely betting on this guy to have a breakout year in 2024. That quarterback is Penn State's Drew Aller, who up to this point in his career hasn't really played up to expectations in terms of production. In 2023, he completed under 60% of his passes for 2,631 yards as a full-time starter. What is impressive is his touchdown to interception ratio, as he only has 25 TDs, but also only 2 picks. And we forget that he was only a sophomore last year, which is why I understand that scouts are banking on him. He's got many prototypical traits that teams are going to love, including his measurables. His frame is at 6'5", 243 pounds. He's got the arm strength that teams want. He's got very good mobility for his size. He's a very fond processor, and he has shown the accuracy and ball placement that teams want to see. So how has he completed 59% of his passes? Well, obviously he isn't consistent with it. He's still learning to have that consistency, and especially he's got to be more consistent with dropping it in the bucket going deep. And with that, he does have some mechanical concerns, specifically with trying to fire at different angles. Lots of these issues showed against some great defenses. He completed 43% of his passes against Ohio State and 45.5% against Michigan. He's definitely a work in progress as we speak. But if he progresses heavily in 2023, don't be surprised if he makes his way up to QB1. Well, he'll only do that since this quarterback class is weak, and for now, he's QB5. In the 4th spot, we have another quarterback who took off last season, this being Alabama signal caller Jalen Milroe. Milroe was benched last season in favor of freshman Ty Simpson, and 10 months later, he's projected to be the 4th quarterback off the board in the 2025 NFL Draft. The former 4-star prospect finished his redshirt sophomore season with 2,834 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 picks, along with 531 rushing yards and 12 scores on the ground. The first thing I notice about Milroe, whether it be his All-22 film or that be just watching the game live, is his insane athleticism for the quarterback position. No, he's not on the level of your recent picks Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels, but he's still super mobile both in and out of the pocket. As a thrower, he's got some very good arm strength, and he's generally accurate in the short and medium game. He also is a high IQ quarterback all around, as he makes good decisions in the air and in the open field. Negatively, his mechanics just look super sloppy at times, specifically his release. Sometimes it just looked like he's out there trying to throw a baseball. His poise could use some tooling as well, as he struggles to sense blindside pressure and diagnose blitzes before the snap. Even as a runner, he has a tendency to run backwards instead of just throwing the ball away. Sometimes he'll lose yardage as a result. But Milroe's upside as a dual threat option gives him the ability to be ranked this high. That high is number 4 on this list. The top 3 have been the consensus projected top 3 for a while now, but one of these guys I am a lot lower on than the others. But Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers is not that guy, as he comes in at number 3 on this consensus ranking. Ewers was the number 1 recruit in the class of 2021, and he's been a 2-season contributor for the Longhorns so far in his career. But that career has been up and down, with career numbers of 5,600 passing yards, 43 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. But despite his career being up and down, he has some traits worth praising, and that begins with his impact in the deep game. His arm strength is only above average at best, but his ball placement going deep is absolutely phenomenal. His poise is also a huge strength, as not only can he sense the pressure and avoid it, but he can also make accurate throws while being hit. Good processing is also present in his skill set, as he won't rush to throw the check down. But what goes up must come down, and that begins with his vitals, where he does come in as undersized. He's super lean at 6'2", 195 pounds, but what's more concerning than that is the fact that he's gotten leaner since joining Texas. His footwork can also be a little bit erratic, as sometimes he will go too far into the pocket or drift too far away from the pocket. I will also say I saw a few costly mishaps on tape, specifically against Oklahoma in 2022. Ewers is not your prototypical quarterback, but his traits give him significant upside anyways. He's number 3 on this list. Now, as we enter the second spot on this list, I have to talk about the quarterback that I'm not as high on as consensus is. I'm sorry, Colorado fans. That quarterback is Shedeur Sanders. I just haven't seen the appeal yet. His production is surely appealing though, as in his collegiate career, 3 G1 seasons by the way, he's passed for 10,193 yards, 97 touchdowns, and only 17 interceptions. On top of that, he's added 13 touchdowns on the ground, but his rushing yard production isn't good. And it's not like I hate Sanders as a prospect, as he does have some very good traits, beginning with his ability to maneuver in the pocket. His offensive line was not great in 2023, but it actually comes out as a positive to him, as not only was he able to have opportunities to move around in the pocket, but he also gets the experience of playing behind a bad O-line. His arm strength is also very good going deep. He's able to deliver balls into tight gaps, and he's able to throw accurately under pressure. And he's also very mobile. His negative 77 rushing yards from last season should not indicate his ability as a runner. So why don't I like him as much? Well, he has issues with timing his escape trying to leave the pocket. He took a bunch of unavoidable sacks last season, and he could have gotten out of them if he had pulled the trigger quicker. Now you might be wondering, this is what I said about Caleb Williams going into last year's draft, and he was my number 1 quarterback, or at least he was 1B. But that was about his only issue. Sanders has more than just that. He really struggles to diagnose blitzes before the snap, he underthrows deep balls way too often, he has inconsistent accuracy all around, and there's more. But the negatives do not define Sanders. He's still my QB5 as we speak today, and he's got the upside to jump up those rankings this season. The consensus board ranks him as number 2 in this class, so that's why he's here. And finally, ranked number 1 on this 2025 NFL Draft top quarterbacks list is none other than Georgia quarterback Carson Beck. I can't disagree with this placement, but I can disagree with where he is in terms of the consensus big board. But nonetheless, he's QB1 right now. He had some very good production last season in his first starting year as Georgia's quarterback. He has passed for 4,427 yards and 30 touchdowns on his career, while also throwing 8 interceptions. Beck's pocket presence is what stands out most to me, as his ability to just maneuver in the pocket and escape it as well is just great. He also is a very good processor, who is a multi-read quarterback. That shows in his 71.2% career completion percentage. His anticipation is a positive, his accuracy outside of the deep game is very good, and he comes in with some great vitals. Now, he's going to have troubles translating his all-around accuracy to the NFL, as he's more of a possession catch thrower. He struggles to hit receivers in stride outside of the short game, but it does help that his receivers are mostly open. He also really struggles to complete passes under heavy pressure, and his arm strength is just average at best. On top of that, the Georgia scheme may boost his statistics a little bit, as I did see a lot of designed plays and screens and short passes on tape. But that's okay. With the prototypical vitals, processing abilities, and pocket presence, he deserves this number 1 spot. Well, those are the current 10 best quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL Draft. Is there anyone who should be on this list? Let me know in the comments section below. Wait, are you not subscribed yet? Well, do it now. I release content like this all the time and would really appreciate your support. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and I will see you all next time.